What if Elvis faked his death in 1977 and it was true? Graceland was quiet that morning, at least until it wasn't. In our reality, a 42-year-old Elvis Presley was found collapsed on the bathroom floor. His heart stopped, his reign ended. But in this version, the story begins differently. Behind locked doors and blackout curtains, a plan long in motion was being executed with near-military precision. Medical professionals on Presley's private payroll arrived early, not to save him, but to substitute him. A sedated look-alike, one of the many Elvis impersonators already on retainer, was placed carefully in the right position. Pills staged, witnesses coached. When paramedics arrived, it was already over, on paper. But out back, past the pool and through a discreet gate, the real Elvis Aaron Presley was stepping into a nondescript black van. He didn't look back. He was still breathing. And for the first time in decades, he wasn't performing for anyone. This wasn't a desperate move. It was calculated, rehearsed, and funded. Operation Graceland, as it would later be theorized in government files never released to the public, involved no fewer than 9 participants: handlers, lookalikes, corrupt officials, and one Vegas-connected fixer. Elvis had been drowning under the weight of his own myth: tax issues, substance abuse, lawsuits, the unbearable pressure of being the king in a world he no longer recognized. By mid-1976, Presley wasn't writing songs. He was scripting his escape. Fake death had precedent. Public figures from authors to mobsters had pulled it off. But never on this scale. Never with this much at stake. In this timeline, Elvis didn't collapse. He disappeared. He couldn't go anywhere in America. Not for long. So the plan was international from the start. That same night, while news anchors were still rehearsing how to announce his death, a private jet cleared Miami airspace under a false tail number. The destination: Mendoza, Argentina. Remote, wealthy, corruptible. He touched down under the name Aaron S. Carpenter, greeted not by customs officials but by 2 men in military uniform who didn't ask questions. They handed him a passport. The King of Rock had become a ghost in plain sight, but he brought with him the one thing that made him impossible to ignore: that voice. Argentina offered shelter, but it came with conditions: no interviews, no public performances, no contact with family. The junta liked keeping secrets, and in exchange, Presley got a compound in the mountains, a new identity, and silence. He changed his hair, shaved the sideburns, even lost weight. But the music didn't stop. Late-night cassette recordings captured by a curious housekeeper revealed strange Spanish-language blues songs, sung in a Memphis growl. The man was still Elvis, just not to the world, not anymore, not. Officially, the FBI only investigated threats against Elvis in the 70s. But in this timeline, one redacted file tells a different story. Declassified in 1999, File 6214-GR-ELV references an asset relocation linked to anti-organized crime testimony. Elvis, it turns out, had ties to more than just Hollywood and Nashville. Vegas owed him favors, and the mob owed him silence. The theory? His fake death was not just personal, it was protective. He had seen too much, said too much, and someone very powerful wanted him out of the picture. The FBI complied. For the greater good or to cover their own. In 1984, a mysterious vinyl record appeared in São Paulo, Brazil. The artist? El Severino. The voice? Unmistakably Elvis. Critics dismissed it as a fake. Audio engineers called it a masterful impersonation, but fans knew. The phrasing, the pitch, the pain, it couldn't be anyone else. The track Cadillac Phantasma became an underground hit in South America. For years, copies changed hands like contraband. Rumors spread that Elvis was still recording, just for an audience that didn't speak English or read Rolling Stone. In 1992, a grainy security tape showed something strange. At 2:14 a.m., a black SUV pulled up to the back of Graceland. A man in his late 50s stepped out, walked to the meditation garden, and stood by Elvis's grave for 23 minutes. The footage was suppressed until a former guard leaked it online in 2006. Side profile analysis showed startling resemblance. Sunglasses, mustache. Walked like he was still on stage. Was it him? Was he saying goodbye or checking his tomb? She never publicly indulged the conspiracy theories. But in this alternate timeline, her silence means something else. She visits Argentina twice a year, always under heavy alias. No photos, no interviews. But locals talk about the American woman with the Presley jawline who cried during Mass and left flowers outside an unmarked gate. When asked by Rolling Stone in 2003 about the sightings, she only smiled and said, "Some things are too sacred for gossip." That answer said more than any confirmation ever could. Things get darker here. According to one declassified memo, Presley's disappearance coincided with a CIA-led misinformation campaign in Latin America. Operation Condor, psychological ops, and celebrity misdirection? Insiders suggest Elvis was used as a pawn, a globally recognizable face who agreed to vanish in exchange for protection, his myth weaponized as cover. It sounds wild, but so does a rock star faking his death and never being found. In this timeline, it's not paranoia, it's paperwork. 2005, rural New Mexico. A tourist snaps a photo of a roadside diner. Nothing special until they upload it. Behind the counter, partially obscured, is a man in his late 60s. Thick sideburns, gray pompadour, the jawline, the eyes. The internet explodes. Forums dissect it for weeks. One forensic artist confirms a 96% facial structure match. The man vanishes the next day. The diner closes a month later. Coincidence? Or did the king want one last burger on Route 66? In the early 2010s, several Memphis charities began receiving anonymous donations, large ones. Youth music programs, drug rehabilitation centers, and vintage gospel choirs all reported mysterious six-figure gifts. The only clue? Each check arrived signed EP 137. Handwriting analysts found eerie similarities to Presley's autographs from the 70s. One choir director claimed a man with a southern drawl called to confirm the funds. "He sounded like time travel," she later said. Was it guilt, legacy maintenance, or a ghost fulfilling promises no one thought he remembered? In 2014, a cassette labeled El Rey Volume 7 was found in a Buenos Aires flea market. Unlike previous tapes, this one sounded final. An old man's voice, cracked but unmistakable, singing spirituals and covering hurt with trembling clarity. One track ended with the words, "This is Aaron. Thank you very much." Audio forensics flagged anomalies, but fans knew the truth. It wasn't for charts, it wasn't for fame, it was for closure. In this timeline, Elvis didn't stage a comeback. He gave the world a whispered goodbye, hidden in static and song. A customs agent at the Mexico-US border reports something strange. An elderly man, traveling under a Canadian passport, detained for suspicion of identity fraud. Fingerprints didn't match any record, but his speech, his gait, and a scar above the left eyebrow set off quiet alarms. When pressed, he simply said, "I used to be someone. That got tiring." He was released hours later. The report was sealed. But one blurry mugshot leaked, and Reddit did the rest. A freelance investigative reporter named Carla Ruiz published a Medium post in 2021 titled, "The Man Who Wasn't There." It tracked sightings, medical records, and obscure banking trails connected to Presley's estate. The story was detailed, convincing, and unfinished. 3 weeks later, her blog vanished. Her social accounts were deleted. When colleagues reached out, her number had been reassigned. A note posted to a message board in her name simply read, "Some legends are safer as ghosts." Whether she pulled back or was pulled away remains unanswered. In 2023, a hospice nurse in Nevada claimed a dying patient who had checked in under the name Aaron Sanders made a chilling confession. "I sang for the world, now I just want to sleep." He didn't allow photographs. he asked for gospel music and black coffee. When he passed, no one claimed the body. But staff whispered about a strange hush that followed. One nurse said, "You could feel the air change." Maybe that's all legends need. A quiet ending, far from flashbulbs, surrounded by strangers who never asked for proof. Elvis Presley was many things: icon, prisoner of fame, cultural fault line. In our reality, he died in 1977, leaving behind velvet paintings, impersonators, and broken fans. But in this timeline, just possibly, he walked away. From the cameras, the pills, the expectations, he traded rhinestones for anonymity, Graceland for exile, and the myth of immortality for something rarer: silence. Maybe he did it to survive. Maybe he did it to be human again. And maybe, just maybe, the king didn't die. He slipped into history's blind spot, looked back once and kept going. Elvis has left the building, and maybe he never came back. Like and subscribe for more from History Twist. Leave a comment below to request your own what if video. See you soon for the next video.